Waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. is not a coincidence. It is a moment of significance, an interruption in the night that calls for attention. It's easy to dismiss it as a restless night, an inconvenient break in your sleep, or just another night of tossing and turning. But what if it's something more? What if waking up at this hour is a divine appointment, a call to something greater? In ancient times, the hours of the night were divided into watches. These were set times when guards would stand on duty, ensuring that nothing unseen, no threat, no enemy, no unexpected event would go unnoticed. The fourth watch, which spans from around 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., was considered the most significant. This was the time of transition from night to morning, from darkness to light. And in this watch, many of the greatest moves of God throughout history took place. It was during this time that the Israelites, trapped by the Red Sea, saw their path open before them as the waters were parted. It was in these hours that Jesus walked on water, defying the very nature of the storm that raged around his disciples. It was at this time that resurrection power was released, breaking through the grip of death. Something happens in these hours that doesn't happen at any other time. There is a reason the darkness is strongest before dawn. In the stillness, while the world sleeps, the spiritual realm is awake. It is the time when forces unseen are at work, when battles are being fought, and when destinies are being shaped. Those who wake at this hour are not merely waking from sleep, they are waking to something. They are being called, stirred, and summoned to step into a divine moment. It is no accident that in the stillness of these hours, many experience a sense of urgency. Some wake up with a racing heart, unable to understand why. Others find themselves suddenly alert, their minds clear, even if they had been in deep sleep moments before. Some wake up feeling a strong presence, a sense of being watched over, guided, or even spoken to. If this happens to you, it is not something to ignore. It is a moment to recognize. These hours are when the barriers between heaven and earth seem thinner. The distractions of the day are stripped away, and the noise of life fades into silence. It is in this silence that whispers can be heard. Whispers of guidance, whispers of revelation, whispers that call out to the soul. If you find yourself awake at this time, consider that perhaps it is not your body that woke you, but your spirit. For those who dismiss this awakening, it often repeats itself. Night after night, the same stirring, the same pull. Some try to fight it, willing themselves back to sleep, ignoring the call. But for those who respond, everything changes. When you wake at this hour and recognize its significance, you step into a moment of divine encounter. You step into a place where prayers are amplified, where direction is given, and where shifts take place in the spiritual realm. There's a reason so many significant biblical encounters happened in the early hours of the morning. Jacob wrestled with an angel through the night and emerged at dawn with a new name, a new identity, and a new purpose. Moses met with God on the mountain in the stillness before the day began. David, in the wilderness, spoke of waking early to seek the Lord, knowing that in those quiet hours, revelation would come. Even Jesus, in the midst of his ministry, would rise before the sun to pray, withdrawing to solitary places where he could hear clearly, receive strength, and walk in divine alignment. Why does God choose this time? Perhaps it is because in these hours we are most receptive. The mind, unburdened by the concerns of the day, is open. The heart, undistracted by the chaos of life, is ready to listen. And the spirit, unshackled by the weight of the world, is free to receive. This is why, throughout history, those who sought wisdom, guidance, and transformation often did so in the hours before dawn. In the natural world, this time is significant as well. It is the moment before the first light breaks through, when the world is transitioning from darkness to dawn. It is the time when new beginnings are set into motion, when seeds of change are planted, when the shift from the old to the new is most evident. And so in the spiritual realm, it is no different. For many, waking up at this time is a sign that they are on the verge of something. It is a sign of preparation, a sign of transition, a sign that something is being stirred within them. Perhaps they are being called to step into a new season, to leave behind what was and embrace what is to come. Perhaps they are being invited into deeper intimacy with the divine, into a relationship that requires them to listen, to seek, and to move in faith. Or perhaps they are being awakened because they have a role to play in something greater than themselves. An intercessor, a watchman, someone who stands in the gap for others, praying when no one else will, standing when others have given up. It is no coincidence that many revivals, movements, and breakthroughs were birthed in the early hours of the morning. Those who woke, those who prayed, those who listened became the vessels through which change flowed. They became the ones through whom history was shaped, destinies were rewritten, and lives were transformed. So what do you do when you wake up at this hour? You recognize it. You acknowledge that it is not just a random occurrence, but a divine invitation. You resist the urge to turn over and sleep, and instead you ask, why am I awake? What am I meant to hear? What is being spoken in this moment? Some may feel a prompting to pray for themselves, for others, for situations they do not even fully understand. Some may feel led to open Scripture, to seek guidance in the Word, to receive instruction for the journey ahead. Others may simply be called to listen, to be still, to wait in expectation for what is to come. What happens in these moments is not always immediate. Sometimes the answer comes in days or weeks. Sometimes it is only in looking back that one realizes the significance of the awakening. But one thing is certain, those who respond to the call of the hour do not remain the same. They are shaped, molded, and transformed by the encounters they have in the stillness of the night. To wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. is not just to wake up physically. It is to wake up spiritually. It is to step into a moment that has been set apart, a moment where something greater is at work. It is to be given the choice to return to sleep or to rise, to ignore or to respond, to miss the moment or to step into it fully. And for those who choose to respond, the journey that follows is one of revelation, alignment, and purpose. Here is a 1,000-word expansion of part 2, Listen, the Hour of Revelation. When you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., the first instinct may be confusion. Why am I awake? What woke me? Should I try to go back to sleep? But what if instead of seeing it as an inconvenience, you saw it as an invitation? An invitation not just to pray, but to listen, because these are not ordinary hours. These are the hours when heaven speaks, when divine whispers are released, and when those who are awake can receive revelations that will shift the course of their lives. Listening is not something most people do well. We are conditioned to speak, to act, to fill the silence with noise. Even in prayer, many pour out words, but never pause to wait for a response. But what if you were waking up at this hour because something was being spoken? And what if the reason you haven't received the answer you've been looking for is because you've been talking too much to hear it? Throughout history, some of the greatest revelations came in the stillness of the early morning hours. This was the time when Samuel, as a young boy, heard the voice of God calling his name. He didn't recognize it at first. He thought it was just the voice of Eli, his mentor, until Eli realized what was happening and told him to respond differently. Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. That was the moment everything changed. That was the moment revelation came. The same is true for you. You may be waking up at this hour, not because your body is restless, but because your spirit is being called. Something is being revealed. But the question is, are you listening? In the silence of the night, distractions are gone. The world is still and the noise of life fades. This is why these hours are often the most spiritually sensitive. The mind is no longer preoccupied with the stress of the day, and the soul is more open to receive what it may have missed in the busyness of daily life. If you find yourself awake at this time, don't rush to check your phone, turn on the television, or distract yourself with meaningless things. Instead, stop, be still, ask yourself, what is being spoken? What is being revealed? Sometimes the answer comes in a whisper, a thought that wasn't there before, a scripture that suddenly comes to mind, a feeling, an impression, a deep knowing that you are supposed to pay attention to something. Other times it comes in dreams. Many people wake up from vivid dreams between 3 and 5 a.m., sensing that what they saw was more than just their imagination. Dreams are often a way that divine messages are given, not just in biblical times, but even now. Consider Joseph, the dreamer. His entire destiny was shaped by the dreams he had and the dreams he interpreted. His ability to listen and discern what those dreams meant set him apart and positioned him to walk in purpose. If Joseph had dismissed his dreams, If he had ignored what was being spoken, he would have never stepped into the future that had been prepared for him. The same is true for you. There are things being revealed to you, things that could shift the course of your life, things that could protect you from danger, guide you into opportunities, or prepare you for what's ahead. But if you do not listen, if you dismiss them, if you return to sleep in the Spirit, you may miss what was meant for you. Listening in these early hours requires intentionality. It requires not just hearing, but discerning. Because not every voice is the right voice. Not every thought is divine. Sometimes what keeps people awake at night is fear, anxiety, or the distractions of the enemy. This is why it is important to test what you hear. Does it align with truth? Does it bring peace or confusion? Does it confirm what has already been stirring in your heart? If you wake up and sense something is being spoken to you, write it down. Keep a journal by your bed. Even if it doesn't make sense at the moment, record it. Because often revelation unfolds over time. What seems unclear in one moment becomes clear in another. But if you do not record it, you may forget it. And how tragic would it be to lose a divine message simply because you did not take the time to remember? Many of history's greatest inventors, writers, and thinkers received their most profound ideas in the early hours of the morning, whether through dreams, sudden insights, or moments of clarity. These hours have been known as the time when the mind is most open to creativity and divine inspiration. Think of Nikola Tesla, who claimed that many of his ideas came to him in flashes of inspiration when he was alone in silence. Or Albert Einstein, whose theories often developed from thoughts and images that came to him in quiet reflection. Even renowned artists and composers throughout history have spoken of waking in the night with melodies, ideas, or visions that they felt were given to them from beyond themselves. What if the same is happening to you? What if there are solutions waiting for you in these early hours? Answers to problems you've been struggling with, directions for decisions you've been agonizing over, inspiration for things you've been called to create. But if you don't listen, if you don't pay attention, those moments may slip away. There is also a reason why many spiritual leaders, prophets, and intercessors rise before dawn. They understand that in these hours, clarity comes. They know that to receive, one must be quiet enough to hear. They recognize that when the world is silent, revelation flows more freely. So what does it mean to listen? It means to posture yourself in expectation. To be open, not dismissive. To ask what is being spoken and then wait for the answer. It means resisting the urge to fill the silence with distractions and instead embracing the stillness. It means being willing to receive even if you don't fully understand. It also means obedience. Because listening is not just about hearing, it's about responding. If something is revealed to you, do not ignore it. If a dream comes, seek understanding. If an idea sparks, write it down and act upon it. If a prompting stirs your heart, follow where it leads, because revelation without action is wasted. Many have missed their moment because they refuse to listen. They woke in the night, felt the stirring, but dismissed it as nothing. They received a dream, but shrugged it off as just their imagination. They had a thought placed in their heart, but ignored it because they were too busy or afraid. But those who listen, those who respond, those who are willing to step into the mystery of the early hours, find themselves walking in alignment with a greater purpose. They receive direction when others wander aimlessly. They gain wisdom when others are confused. They walk in clarity when others are lost. So if you find yourself away between 3 and 5 a.m., do not just pray, listen. Because something is being spoken, and those who have ears to hear will never be the same. Here is a 1,000-word expansion of part 3, Prepare, the Hour of Destiny. Waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. is not a coincidence. It is not just a moment of restlessness, nor is it simply an interruption in your sleep cycle. It is a call. A divine summons, and what you do in response determines what happens next. You have prayed. You have listened. But now comes the most crucial part. You must prepare. Preparation is the bridge between revelation and manifestation. Many people receive insight, dreams, and direction in the early hours, yet they remain stuck because they fail to prepare for what is coming. They hear the whisper of destiny, but continue walking in the same patterns. They receive a vision of their future, but do not take steps to step into it. But revelation without preparation is wasted. It is like being given a map, but never making the journey. If you are waking up in these hours, it is because something is being set in motion. The question is, will you be ready? Preparation begins with recognition. If you continually wake up at this time, if you feel stirred, if you sense that something is shifting, acknowledge it. Do not dismiss it as random. Do not return to sleep in the spirit. Accept that you are being positioned for something greater. This is the first step. Because those who recognize the call can respond to it, but those who ignore it will miss the moment. Throughout history, those who walked in purpose were those who prepared in private. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before stepping into leadership. Joseph endured years of refining before his dream became a reality. David was anointed king as a boy, but spent years in preparation before he took the throne. Even Jesus spent time in solitude before stepping into his public ministry. The pattern is clear. Before every great move, there is a season of preparation. So if you are waking up at this hour, if you feel the stirring in your spirit, if you sense that something is shifting, it means your season of preparation has begun. But preparation is not passive. It requires action. The first step in preparing is writing down what has been revealed to you. Many people wake up with ideas, insights, or instructions, but because they do not write them down, they forget them. Keep a journal by your bed. When you wake up, write what you felt, what you saw in a dream, what thoughts came to mind. Even if it does not make sense in the moment, record it, because often the puzzle pieces come together over time. The second step is aligning your life with what you have heard. If you sense you are being called into a new season, start making changes. If you feel you need to grow spiritually, begin studying and seeking wisdom. If you have been given a vision for something new, start making small steps toward it. Destiny is not something that simply arrives. It is something you step into. And those who prepare are the ones who walk in it. Consider Noah. He was warned of something that had never happened before, a great flood. He could have ignored it, doubted it, or delayed action, but instead, he prepared. He built the ark long before a single drop of rain fell. And because he prepared, he was ready when the time came. Many people receive warnings, insights, and instructions, but because they do not prepare, they are caught off guard when the season changes. They miss opportunities because they were not ready. They struggle through transitions because they failed to take the steps in advance. But those who wake in the early hours, those who sense the shift and prepare accordingly, walk in divine timing. Preparation also requires removing what no longer serves you. If you are waking up between 3 and 5 a.m., if you feel the stirring, it may be time to let go of things that are holding you back. Old habits, distractions, negative mindsets. These things can hinder your ability to step into what is next. Before stepping into a new season, there is always a shedding of the old. The Israelites had to leave Egypt behind before entering the promised land. The disciples had to leave their nets before following Jesus. Elisha had to burn his plow before stepping into his prophetic calling. And the same is true for you. If you are being called into something greater, you may need to let go of what is comfortable. Preparation is also about building strength for what is ahead. Many people wake up in the early hours feeling a deep urgency, yet they do nothing to strengthen themselves for the journey. If you are being called into something new, you need to be spiritually, mentally, and physically prepared. Spiritually, this means deepening your faith, increasing your prayer life, and immersing yourself in wisdom. It means surrounding yourself with those who will strengthen you rather than distract you. It means guarding what you allow into your mind and heart, because what you consume shapes your perspective. Mentally, it means developing discipline. If you wake at this hour and return to sleep without seeking meaning, you are training yourself to ignore the call. But if you wake and respond, if you develop the habit of listening and preparing, you are conditioning yourself for greater things. Physically, it means having the endurance to carry what is coming. Many people desire great things but are not physically prepared for them. They want to lead but lack the energy. They want to pursue dreams but lack the stamina. Preparation requires taking care of yourself so that when the time comes, you are not too weak to walk in what you were called to do. Preparation also involves expectation. If you truly believe that something is coming, if you truly believe you are being awakened for a reason, live in expectation. Wake up with purpose. Walk through your day with the awareness that something is shifting. Expect doors to open. Expect clarity to come. Expect to be positioned for what is next, because those who expect prepare, and those who prepare receive. Think of Esther. She was chosen for a great purpose, but before she could step into it, she went through a season of preparation. She was trained, refined, and positioned. And when the moment came, she was ready. She could have resisted the process, but instead she embraced it. And because of that, she stepped into her destiny. The same is true for you. You may not fully understand why you are waking at this hour. You may not see the full picture yet, but if you feel the stirring, if you sense the shift, start preparing now. Because when the moment comes, when the doors open, when the opportunity arises, you will either be ready or you will miss it. Those who wake between 3 and 5 a.m. are not just waking in the natural, they are waking in the spirit. They are being called to something greater, but only those who prepare will step into it. So do not waste this time. Do not ignore the stirring. If you are waking at this hour, it is because something is being set in motion. The question is, will you be ready? Here is a 1,000-word expansion of Part 4, Act the Hour of Breakthrough. Waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. is not just about prayer, listening, or even preparing. It is about action. Because no matter how much revelation you receive, no matter how much you prepare, if you do not act, nothing changes. The breakthrough you have been seeking does not come just by knowing what to do. It comes when you actually do it. This is the hour when destinies are decided, when those who have been called step forward, when those who have been prepared take action, and when those who have been waiting finally move. But the truth is, many people get stuck at the threshold of action. They sense the call, they receive the revelation, they even prepare for what's ahead, but when the moment to act arrives, they hesitate. Fear stops them, doubt creeps in, the weight of what is before them seems overwhelming, and instead of stepping into their breakthrough, they shrink back. But the reason you are waking up at this hour, the reason you have been stirred, the reason you have been positioned is because you are being called to step forward. This is the pattern throughout history. Those who were called were also required to act. Abraham had to leave his homeland. Moses had to stand before Pharaoh. Joshua had to step into the Jordan River before the waters parted. David had to pick up the stones before facing Goliath. Peter had to step out of the boat before he could walk on water. Breakthrough does not happen in passivity. It happens when faith meets action. If you find yourself waking up between 3 and 5 a.m., it may be because there is something you are being called to do, but you have been delaying. Maybe it's a decision you need to make, a step you need to take, a change you need to embrace, a battle you need to fight. And you have been given this hour as a divine nudge, a reminder that the time to act is now. But how do you move forward? How do you step into breakthrough? First, you must overcome fear. Fear is the number one thing that stops people from acting. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of stepping out of comfort. But fear is a liar. It paralyzes, it distorts, and it keeps people bound. If fear is keeping you from acting, recognize that it is not from the divine. Fear is meant to stop you from reaching your breakthrough. One of the greatest examples of overcoming fear is Gideon. When he was first called to lead, he was hiding. He saw himself as weak and unqualified. But in the early hours of the morning, he was given a sign. And when he finally acted, when he finally stepped into his calling, he led one of the greatest victories in history. His breakthrough came not when he received the call, not when he prepared, but when he acted. The same is true for you. You may feel unqualified, you may feel uncertain, but the time for hesitation is over. If you have been given insight, if you have been given preparation, if you have been stirred in the night, it is because the time to move is now. Second, you must take the first step even if you don't see the full picture. Many people wait until they have everything figured out before they act. They want certainty. They want guarantees. But breakthrough does not work that way. Most of the time, you must step forward before you see how everything will come together. Look at the story of the Israelites crossing the Red Sea. The waters did not part until they moved forward. Breakthrough comes when you step, not when you stand still. If you are waking up at this hour, it may be because there is a step you need to take. Maybe it's launching something new. Maybe it's leaving something behind. Maybe it's having a conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's making a bold decision. Whatever it is, the key is to take action. Even a small step is a step forward. Third, you must silence distractions. Many people never reach their breakthrough because they allow distractions to keep them from action. They start moving forward but get sidetracked by things that don't matter. Social media, meaningless conversations, wasted time. These things can steal the energy and focus needed to step into destiny. If you are waking up between 3 and 5 a.m., recognize that this is a sacred window of time, a time when the distractions of the day are silent, a time when clarity is strongest. Do not waste this moment scrolling through your phone or engaging in meaningless activities. Use this time to act, start writing, start planning, start praying with intention, start doing what you know you are supposed to do. Fourth, you must persist. Breakthrough does not always come instantly. Sometimes you must push through resistance. There will be obstacles. There will be setbacks. But the key is to keep moving. Consider Elijah on Mount Carmel. He prayed for rain, but at first there was nothing. He could have stopped. He could have given up, but instead he kept sending his servant to look again 7 times. And on the 7th time, there was a small cloud just the size of a man's hand. But that small cloud was the beginning of the downpour. Many people give up just before their breakthrough comes. They act once, but when they don't see results immediately, they stop. But those who persist, those who keep moving forward, those who continue even when nothing seems to be happening, those are the ones who see the downpour. If you have taken a step and you haven't seen the results yet, keep going. Keep praying, keep moving, keep pushing, because breakthrough is coming. Finally, you must expect transformation. When you step into action, when you push past fear, when you persist through obstacles, things begin to shift. Doors open, opportunities appear, strongholds break. Things that seemed impossible suddenly become possible. Think of Jacob. He wrestled through the night. He fought. He struggled. He refused to let go. And when the morning came, he was changed. His name was changed. His destiny was changed. The same is true for you. If you are waking at this hour, it is because you are in a divine wrestling match. You are contending for something. And if you do not give up, if you keep pushing, if you keep moving forward, when the morning comes, you will be transformed. This is the hour of breakthrough. The hour when chains are broken, when destinies are released, when those who have been called finally step forward. You have prayed, you have listened, you have prepared, Now it is time to act, because those who act, those who move forward in faith, are the ones who will see their breakthrough.